Hello again, Brian Jennings, the Millennial Dragon. This channel is dedicated to processing my pathological diseased relationship with Quentin Tarantino. And since I feel a palpable evil hovering over me, we're making another video, right? Quentin Tarantino is a powerful psychic clairvoyant who jumps into the mind of the actors in his films, right? And when I didn't bend to his psychic whim, when I proved him impotent as a psychic, right? He entered into a Faustian covenant to compel me to madness and suicide, and now that he's failed, he's entered into a sick siege, black magic evil campaign to destroy my body with his mind. And so I've written a novelization of my experiences. We're talking about the novel, we're talking about the writing, we're talking about the nature of reality, right? And so that we're all on the same page here, WME, right? Who else? Right? Fish, the Discovery Institute, right? That I have put it out there in the psychic landscape, right? Every time he meditates on his demise, he destroys his boy thereby, right? Every time he focuses on me, right? He destroys his marriage thereby, right? That this is, right? Like that's the game, right? He cares so little about his family, right? He cares so little about his marriage, right? He cares so little about his children, right? That he risks poisoning his children, his progeny, that he risks destroying his marriage, right? All in an effort, right, to see me in the ground, right? And so I'm talking about it every fucking day because he's a sick fucking degenerate, right? And I'm going to make sure everyone involved knows, right? So, right? Dual models, right? Transcendental magic, it's doctrine and ritual, right? What are these? What are these? Books for lunatics? Is that? Right? What you got to say about that, David Berlinski? We cut from the same cloth or what? Right? Right? There's a dangerous evil hovering over me. Right? I live in palpable fear constantly that Quentin is going to hit his breaking point, right? He's already the sickest degenerate in the world. That's it. There's nothing graceful about him at all. Right? Right? That this has nothing to do with the movies now. That the movies, right? It's come and gone, right? He's a sick, evil man, right? Who has no business living, right? He thinks I don't need to live. That man actually has no business living, right? I'm not evil. No. That's not, right? Right? I'm wise, right? So, right, what do I mean when I say that, right? I mean that he has engendered a condition psychologically in both of our minds where it behooves us to reconcile, spend time together, make memories together, right? Or we're both mentally ill for the rest of our lives, right? And so that's why I say, oh, he's going to send people to kill me, right? That's why I say, oh, he's entered into a black magic, disgusting Faustian covenant to destroy my body with his mind, because I know the game, right? This is why I wrote The Pope, right? This is why we're talking about it every day, right? And so on the far end of that, right, despite me not conspiring towards his demise, right, an extreme Christian fundamentalist could now see these videos and take it upon themselves to strike him from the earth, right? And who could fault him, honestly, right? He could release the footage, right? Oh, wait, he can't, because everything I'm saying is true, right? Because he's a fucking degenerate, right? I'm not going to go on and on, right? But, right, life has a latent intellect, right? That's what's manifest in this book, right? And it's structured in a particular way, which is manifest in this book. Right? And so all instances of clairvoyance, all instances of psychic phenomenon derive from the mind of the adept tapping into the non-locality of the conscious field which permeates all of space, right? And so instances of remote viewing, instances of clairvoyance, instances of telepathy, instances of telekinesis, instances of psychokinesis, instances of thaumaturgy are the same things that people referred to as magic and sorcery in centuries past, right? So the highest levels of the adept, right, sees the adept healing the sick, right, which is my intention. I intend to do that, assuming I can live, right, assuming that I survive, right, because he's a sick, dangerous man, right, and he wants to go, me, I'm the only one that gets to know how to be wise, me, right, and so I represent an anomaly. I represent a twofold condition. If you've been paying attention, right? I represent an actor whose mind he can never possess, right? And I represent a psychic whose mind he shall never surpass, right? So, we're talking about it, right? Because I live with the light of God in my heart. I'm motivated by the right things, right? He's cast his allegiances with the demiurge, right? He's cast his allegiances with worldly power, right? Mr. Worldly Wisdom, right? Pilgrim's Progress, John Bunyan, right? I'm not interested in fighting, right? I'm not interested in being a fucking base degenerate. He's doing sick things with bleach and hypodermic needles right now, right? And that's why, right? That's why we're making this video, right? Oh, gosh, how unfortunate he's not well. Right? Right? If that's true, right? Why don't you just release the footage, right? Why doesn't WME just release the footage with Quentin from Jackie Brown, right? And then you can prove that I'm not well. Oh wait. You all insulate a disgusting evil. You all help Quentin be paramount evil. That there is no, right? There's nothing good about that man, right? He's a sick, base degenerate, right? And he does the feet thing, right? He makes women take their shoes off, right? Right? As misdirection, right? Not only that, right? There's a really funny episode of South Park. I'll leave you with this, right? Where all these guys, he shows that they're all really angry because their dicks are really small. Right? So, right? Is that why there's violence in all of Quentin's films? Pretty funny. Right? Right? Uplift your soul to God. See what's good in your life. Right? Know that life is not an accident, right? Life has a latent intellect embedded within every cubic centimeter of space, Prebrum and Bohm, the holographic model, right? In terms of information, every cubic centimeter of space has within it the potential for all manifested reality, right? All instances of clairvoyance, all instances of psychic phenomenon, which are the same things people refer to as magic and sorcery in centuries past, derive from the adept locking their conscious awareness into the non-locality of the conscious field which permeates all of space. The trouble with measurement is resolved if you say life has a latent intellect, right? That everything exists as a quantum waveform of potential, a perfectly nested hologram of quantum waveform potential, of probability, right? And so everything exists in a state of rest perpetually. It's through the thinking, the collapsing, right, of God the Father's knowing within the hologram that it fractures it into a crepuscular shadow, a manifested shadow of its idealized form, Plato's allegory of the cave, right? That the life that we perceive as perceived without the lens of philosophy is as if it is a shadow cast on the wall of a cave, right? That what we see here is only a corrupted shadow of its idealized form. All things reside within the realm of idea, right? Walter Russell, right? from dust to dust. Space and matter are equal opposites of each other from alpha to omega, right? Know that life is not an accident, right? Quentin Tarantino is a dangerous degenerate, right? Who doesn't respect himself. He doesn't respect life. He doesn't respect God. He doesn't venerate that beautiful goddess of a wife he's got. He doesn't see what's good in his life. He doesn't respect his children, right? He debases the mercy seat with his every breath. And so that's why I've come into his life, to hold him accountable. God bless. Uplift your soul to God. See that life is not an accident, right? See what's good in your life. Like, comment, subscribe, share.